It happened so fast. All I heard was stuff ripping through the windows, and we had pieces of rafter coming through the drywall.
I'm walking through our neighborhood, and it's the most gut-wrenching thing I've ever seen.
I'm just lucky. I mean, we're lucky, man. Real lucky.
It's absolutely miraculous.
No one was killed and very few injuries.
We're striving with our faith, trusting God, and we're trying to see if we can get support anywhere we can.
The noise you're hearing, it's a community coming together to take care of their neighbors and get the city back on its feet.
Tornado victims sifting through piles of debris to save what they can from their homes.
The damage so bad, in many cases, the only option for so many neighbors is to start over.
And this information just in: video of a downed transmission line. This is in southeast Houston. It is part of the damage that helped the National Weather Service determine the storm as an EF3 tornado. That's a big one. Right now, there are 16,000 CenterPoint customers without power, down from more than 100,000 yesterday.
KHOU 11 news crews are fanned out across the area observing the recovery and cleanup efforts. Chief Meteorologist David Paul is also on the ground in the impact zone.
David's been examining the damage with the National Weather Service in Pasadena, Deer Park, and southeast Houston.
Dave, you tracked the debris cloud on radar yesterday. Now you are standing there in it. Have to ask you, what's it like?
Well, it's one thing to track it on radar. It's an entirely another thing to actually be in it and see what that debris ball looks like. It's the extensive roof damage here in this Pasadena neighborhood that gives away the fact that this was a strong tornado, an EF3, with winds estimated to have peaked at around 140 miles an hour. That was enough not only to do extensive roof damage, but on this house it collapsed half the roof. It's a good thing that the residents were not home, because on the top floor, 2x6s that used to hold the roof up fell into the bedroom, and it could have caused significant injury. Over and over again, we heard stories from people in this neighborhood today about how they were watching us on television. The power went out, and that's when they took action and ran to their safe room, be it a bathroom, a closet, or an interior hallway. And in many cases, it appears that saved folks from serious injury. Now, one of the big challenges today has been getting the power back on. This tornado knocked out power lines all over the place, and the amount of crews out here has been extensive trying to get the power going. They've had to block roads. We've had to take many detours around the Pasadena area just because of the crews efforting the power back on. Marcelino Benito is in Deer Park, where we also had extensive damage. Marcelino?
Well, David, we talked to one poor woman today who drove home from work yesterday expecting to find her home intact. Instead, when she got there, she found a tornado had destroyed her home completely, and she broke down.
Why my house? You know, like, why us?
It's a question weighing on longtime Deer Park resident Amy Irvin's heart as she begins picking up the pieces on East X Street. One side of the street virtually untouched, her side not so lucky.
I get closer and I see my daughter's baby swing in the tree, and I'm like, that's my house.
The tornado ripped off her roof and crumbled her house of 11 years. Her neighbor's roof obliterated too.
The firefighters literally had to hold me up. I was just weak at the knees, crying. It was devastating to see.
Luckily, they weren't home when the twister tore down X Street, taking more than a decade of memories with it.
It's 14 years of all of our stuff in the house and gone.
A day after, she and so many friends sifting through the debris. A few wooden beams, the only things left intact above her head.
There's water damage. There's sheetrock all down in my house. I found a knife from my kitchen in my daughter's bedroom, like, you know. So just everything is everywhere.
A few doors down, there's even less left of the house on the corner. A before and after truly captures how powerful this twister was.
It's the most gut-wrenching thing I've ever seen.
The devastating damage taking up entire blocks on Center Street. Businesses and livelihoods shredded to pieces. A long road undoubtedly ahead. But Amy says she and her family aren't going anywhere.
We will rebuild, yeah. Yeah, this is Deer Park. We love it.
And Amy and so many others in this community will be getting a lot of help to rebuild. That is the silver lining we've seen all day throughout this community, David. People stepping up to help one another pick up the pieces, cooking meals, doing whatever they can to those that were severely impacted by this tornado.
That has been one of the most encouraging things today, is that watching the people in these neighborhoods, and again here in Pasadena, the people here just helping each other out, piles of debris, but piled up by neighbors who are now exhausted, and things are getting quiet now as people are going off to dinner and about to get some rest. Jason Miles also in Pasadena this evening with an update on more damage. Hi, Jason.
Hey there, David. You know, an emergency shelter filled up earlier in the day. A second shelter opened at 4:30 late this afternoon at Revive Church on Fairmont Parkway here in Pasadena. But take a look behind me. The church here, well, there won't be anything happening here anytime soon. Take a look at this Drone 11 video we shot earlier in the afternoon over Mouth of God Ministries here. It was destroyed by the tornado that also touched down in other parts of Pasadena. There is structural damage all around the church, overturned vehicles as well. We also surveyed the Fairmont Estates area today. That's where a path of destruction is also clearly visible. We even have a side-by-side comparison of what one home looked like before and after the storm. Part of the damage the city is still assessing.
We've got drones up, we got people counting houses. We're doing everything we can to make sure our numbers are right. So if there's any benefits the state or even the federal government can do, we're going to be on top of it.
Mayor Jeff Wagner believes this may be the first tornado to inflict this amount of damage in Pasadena's history. The city now working with the Salvation Army, Red Cross, and others to provide supplies and shelter those in need. And I mentioned as we're back here live that a second emergency shelter just opened this evening. But as you mentioned earlier in the show, power restoration moving right along. And the mayor also mentioned this. It's pretty important because we've seen a line of cars in and out of this neighborhood today. If you're just a looky-loo, interested in what the damage looks like, just stay at home for now. Leave this to the people immediately affected or those here helping them. Reporting live from Pasadena, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.
Well, and Jason, think about that statement. This may have been the worst tornado ever recorded across the city of Pasadena, and yet no significant injuries. Just amazing, and we continue to cross our fingers that that remains the case. Guys, live in Pasadena, back to you in the studio, Lennon.
Yeah, David is astounding. We'll see you again a little bit later.